Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto was helped by female Harry Potter. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by hpnutter and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. A Mother's Love. Uzumaki Kushina hates Konoha. It's not something she ever thought would happen, and it certainly isn't something she planned. With the destruction of Uzushio, Konoha has become her home. It is vastly different from her native land, the smell of freshly cut grass instead of salt water lingering and dancing in the wind. And, sure, her rival is solely due to Mito-sama passing her the Kyuubi in the necessary and never-ending game of Jinchuriki tag, but Kushina knows the only thing she can do is keep moving forward. Like any shinobi, Kushina is adaptable. She becomes one of Konoha's most formidable kunoichi, absolutely ruthless on the battlefield, and if Kumo and Iwa shinobi are absolutely terrified to catch a glimpse of her blood-red hair, well, she has no problem slaughtering them with extreme prejudice. The third war allows her to use her chakra chains in so many different creative ways. The war also brings out a terrifying bloodthirsty side of her, but that's beside the point. She grows to love Konoha. Loves the Hokage monument, the belief in the will of fire, the people who welcome her with open arms, Minato. Uzushio is, and forever will be, a gaping wound that will never fully heal, but Konoha is a balm to soothe the agony over a legacy left decrepit. Or, it was. Now, after all of the blood, sweat and tears she shed, after she dies to protect this fucking village, they repay her sacrifice by damning her legacy. Naruto is the best of both of his parents, with his father's loud blonde hair and bright blue eyes, with her tanned skin and boisterous attitude. He's the best thing that could have happened to her, a product of the love and joy she shares with her husband. Dying to protect him is as easy as breathing, instinctual, and she does so without many regrets, will do it all again if she needs to. It's the leaving him behind that despairs her, damages her soul in ways she never anticipated. Because Uzumaki Kushina may be dead, but she is not gone. Oh, no. She lingers, keeps watch over her son, but is never able to touch him, to speak to him, to comfort him. It's not so bad at first. Kushina sings old Uzushio lullabies to her bundle of joy, not sure if it's for his deaf ears or her winded spirit. She tells him about the sea, about the crystal blue water, about the bright coral reef, and the swimming creatures that hide in the crevices, about the sand that she could squish between her toes. She tells him about his grandfather, a stubborn man with a heart of gold, who she hopes he will take after. Kushina tells him of the time Minato had rescued her, of the times he stood by her, regardless of how hard she made it, too wounded and scared to go through the pain of losing anyone else to just let him waltz his way into her heart. Naruto remains unaware of it all, stares aimlessly at the stuffed kunai hanging from his mobile, or sometimes sleeping peacefully, ignorant of her ghostly presence. But that's okay because he's here, alive, healthy, and Kushina has never felt so blessed. Naruto's caretaker, a middle-aged seamstress with deep worry lines but a kind face, is a little indifferent to him. Kushina hates it because her son deserves so much more effort than this woman is giving, but she tries to be compassionate, especially when she sees the woman weeping over a photo of her husband, tragically killed when the Kyuubi broke free. Kushina knows more than anyone that grief can get in the way of living. Understanding is not the same as acceptance, but Kushina is more willing to give the woman the benefit of the doubt. Until the woman's slight indifference turns to outright neglect. Naruto wails every time he's left in his soaking, soiled diapers, howls every time he's left alone for hours, cries when his caretaker handles him just a little too rough. Kushina had died painfully, blood filling her lungs, chest burst open from the Kyuubi's claw, and yet that doesn't hold a candle to this new torment. To see her son in pain and not able to do anything about it is excruciating, salt in an already festering wound. Kushina does what she can. She screams, she rages, tries to get the woman's attention one way or another. Nothing works, and for the first time Kushina curses Konoha, hates the village with everything she has, because it wasn't supposed to be like this. It's not the fact that she's dead that bothers her, knew from the moment she accepted that headband that this fate was going to be hers, and no self-respecting shinobi would have it any other way. But her son is important to her, and she had no idea that sacrificing herself for this village, for him, was going to sacrifice his well-being and happiness, too. Kushina doesn't know why it takes Irutobi 4 months to notice Naruto's worsening condition, wants to beat some sense into his old withered head. The old man has always been soft to a fault, something she used to admire in him, but now she understands with perfect clarity why Danzo always cursed that quality in him. Naruto's old caretaker is replaced quietly, no punishment doled out, just transferring her son to someone he personally trusts. It's not enough, not by a long shot. It will never be enough. Kushina watches the new caretaker like a hawk. The new woman is a little younger and she doesn't neglect Naruto. She holds him gingerly, scrunches her nose as if he is contaminated, and sometimes she looks scared to be in the same room with him. But her fear of disobeying the Hokage is greater, and so she does her utmost to ensure that he is treated appropriately. The woman even takes him outside while she's running errands, and Naruto marvels at the breeze ruffling his golden locks, the sun warming his face, the sights and smells emanating from the village, slowly recovering from where the Kyuubi brought it to its knees. And betrayal after them, unseen, a precaution she approves of because she no longer trusts this detestable village. Kushina cries when Naruto smiles for the first time, and she doesn't understand how anyone could think poorly of her son, her precious baby boy, how they can't see how wonderful he is. But the villagers do not get the memo. Enraged is too soft a word to fully describe what she feels with every sneer, every cruel whisper that follows Naruto. The villagers spew their vicious vitriol, unaware that her son is the only reason the village is still standing in the first place. This is the village she died for. The village she and Minato sacrificed their son for. Kushina weeps bitter tears, wants nothing more than to pay back Konoha's injustice tenfold. Because the people that welcomed her with open arms when she needed it have closed them to Naruto. The baker that used to sell her Minato's favorite rolls. He drunkenly suggests that someone needs to kill the demon brat before he completely destroys the village. The kind old lady that used to remind her of her grandmother and would invite her to tea. She curses his name for killing her son. The shinobi she used to fight with, her comrades in arms, they either turn the other way or are indifferent to her son's treatment, his status as a pariah. And that is unacceptable. Naruto will never thrive in a village like this. Kushina mourns, briefly, as her rose-tinted glasses are shattered and she's left with the jagged broken pieces of reality. And then, like any adaptable shinobi, Kushina picks herself up, brushes the dust off, and searches for a way to protect her son. She refuses to believe that she is powerless, won't accept it. She's a fucking ghost. There must be something that she can do. Kushina tries everything she can think of for months. What she comes up with is a long list of all the shit she can't do. Useful in its own way, but ultimately not what she's looking for. Naruto celebrates his first birthday, alone, when she finally has a breakthrough. Hand signs no longer work for her now that she's dead, but channeling chakra, specifically channeling a combination of earth chakra and the unique chakra that makes up her chains, that seems to do the trick. Kushina was limited to only staying within a certain distance from Naruto, but then it feels like there's a hook at her navel, and before she can contemplate that even further she is whisked away. The world passes by at an alarming speed, a myriad of colors that whirl around her and make her dizzy, heading straight for a vortex of swirling and colliding energy. The vortex promptly sucks her up and spits her back out, and she lands on the hard floor, as shaky as Anara's baby deer. Kushina pants heavily, closes her eyes to get rid of the nausea that is threatening to overcome her. She hasn't exactly eaten these past few months, and she doesn't know what will come up if her innards are successful in their rebellion. Can I help you? Kushina gasps, not expecting anyone to be able to talk with her. It's been so long since she's had anyone to talk to. She turns to see an older man staring at her expectantly. He is sitting behind a rich mahogany desk, devoid of anything besides a plain manila folder that is under his folded hands. He looks foreign, not as wrinkled as Sarutobi, has a full head of brown hair that is slicked back, starting to recede. His voice is foreign as well, with an accent she's never heard before. The man is dressed oddly, formally, in black clothes that she has never seen before. She says, because grace is something she was not born with. Where am I? The old man continues to stare at her, blank and unimpressed. Have you forgotten everything from your orientation? Orientation? She asks weakly, feels so out of place and a little on edge. He narrows his eyes at her. Have a seat, he says, gesturing to an empty spot in front of his desk. She blinks, and an intricately carved chair appears. She stares at it for a moment but decides it's not the weirdest thing she's seen. Kushina gets off the floor, dusts herself off, and takes a seat. I don't know what's going on, she admits. Yes, I'm beginning to see that, he says dryly. He opens the manila folder, scans the contents with a furrow in his brow. Did you not attend your orientation on the 12th of October? You're the first person I've talked to in months, she says with a twinge of longing. I haven't been able to do much of anything. He cocks an eyebrow at her. Then how did you end up here? She shrugs hesitantly. Chakra. She didn't mean it as a question, but her uncertainty colors her voice. The old man's face lights up a little in understanding. Elemental nations, he says as if that explains everything. Yes. She's obviously from the elemental nations, but isn't everybody? What kind of crazy fuckery did she chakra her way into? The old man clears his throat, puts down the folder. Kushina's trained eyes catch sight of small, squiggly words, and she mentally curses the man for writing in code instead of kanji. I see you've had quite an epidemic just a few months ago, he says factually, as if he's talking about the weather. It looks like Agent Demon Fox, what you call the Kyuubi, was unleashed upon your village. Yes, she says, even though this is already old news and not a secret kept from the rest of the nations. Me husband and I died to protect our son in the village, she adds on, and if she bitterly spits out village like a curse, nobody can blame her. I see that. He sighs, stares at the folder again before returning his gaze to her. Well, I believe it is safe to say that you did not receive your proper orientation and someone has been derelict in their duties. Kushina frowns. I guess, she says. Look, I was just trying to. The old man clears his throat, interrupting her. You are dead, he deadpans. Take a moment to come to terms with it, let it sink in. And then the bastard doesn't even give her a moment, continues, now that you are dead, you have a couple of options ahead of you. You can be judged and placed in an appropriate afterlife now, or you can continue to linger on the mortal plane to watch over whatever unfinished business you feel you have. What will it be? Kushina stares at him, narrows her eyes. I need help, she says, anger and desperation evident in her tone. Please, I don't know what to do. It sounds like you're going to want to go with option 2, the old man says contemplatively. He grabs a pen, starts scribbling notes down in his file. He doesn't even flinch when Kushina slams her hands on the table. I died for them. She screams. I died for them, and the only thing I want is my son to be cared for. But that fucking village is blaming him for the fox, and it's partly my fault. The fox, it was my burden to carry. She cries, shakes as sobs rack her body. But I was too weak to stop the masked man, and he took the fox from me. Minato didn't have any other choice. And now our son is paying the price. The old man's eyes narrowed sharply. I'm going to ignore this outburst from you, he says lightly, but there's something sharp in his eyes that Kushina recognizes all too well, and she knows that provoking this man is probably the last thing she wants to do. He leans back in his chair, regards her with cold curious eyes, like she's an interesting specimen. Minato, he says thoughtfully, glances at the file again. Your Hokage traded his life to seal the fox into your son. Our son, Kushina says softly, tears still running down her face. The old man makes a small noise of acknowledgement. He stares at her sharply. What is it that you want help with? Kushina sniffles, wipes away her tears. The village isn't treating Naruto well, she says. We died for them, and all we wanted was our son to grow up healthy and happy. Beauty have spent the last few months watching, and Therathi blame him for the Kyuubi. It's not his fault, but they're blaming him, and he is the reason why the village still stands today, maybe even the only hope for the world. I need to protect him. Please, I don't know what else to do. The old man says nothing, regards her with a calculating gleam in his eye. An awkward silence descends upon them for a few moments, makes Kushina fidget in her seat, and then the old man waves a hand. In a cloud of black smoke, a man appears. He has dark chocolate skin, warm brown eyes. He's dressed in that similar foreign oddly formal wear that the old man is. What can I do for you, Death? Kushina damn near swallows her tongue, pales a little when she realizes she was probably talking to Death this whole time, slammed her hands on his fucking table, and was it possible to die again? It can't be, right? Inform my mistress I have need of her, Death says quietly. The other man nods. It shall be done, he promises, and then leaves in the same manner he arrived. Death waves his hand again, and this time a plate of dango appears before Kushina. Eat, he says. She has no need for food, but she doesn't dare go against Death. She bites into the dango, surprised by just how much she's missed it. A soft sigh of pleasure escapes her, and Kushina happily munches. It's not a particularly long wait, but then again time means nothing to the dead. Death does not engage her in conversation, and Kushina doesn't particularly feel like filling in the silence like she normally does. Instead she thinks of Minato, feels a deep sadness. The last time she saw him was the night of their deaths, not exactly something that she likes to think about. And maybe it's a good thing he's not here. She doesn't know how he would feel about the village, about the way they're treating Naruto. Kushina imagines he would be saddened, bitterly disappointed, or maybe even a little angry. She knows their son is important to him, that he loved Naruto as fiercely as she does, but she's lying if she says she's not the slightest bit concerned that his love for the village would overshadow that, would make him forgive the transgressions against their child. There's another cloud of smoke, but the figure that appears in it is not the dark-skinned man from before. It's another woman. Her long inky black hair is tied in a high ponytail, bangs stopping just above her eyebrows. She's pale, almost unnaturally so, with high cheekbones, almond-shaped green eyes that are brighter than any she's ever seen, full lips that are colored scarlet, bloody red. Her clothes are not that unusual, resembling the Hokage robes, but cut in a way that emphasizes the way her waist tucks in and her hips flare out, black with red and gold accents. It's the shoes that really stand out to Kushina. Closed-toed, black with a slight platform, silver buckles crisscrossing. They make a dense tap-tap as she walks, a noise Kushina recognizes. The shoes are heavier in the front, likely reinforced with metal. Stylish, yet functional. The woman doesn't look like a kunoichi, but Kushina knows that appearances can be deceiving. It's how she killed most of her marks as a chunin, after all. You needed me? Her voice is a little on the husky side with an accent like Death's. Death stands up, bows a little. Mistress, he intones, and Kushina might be imagining it, but he sounds like an odd mix of mocking and respectful. The woman gives him a bland look. Then she notices Kushina in the room, and her eyes widen a little. She stares at Kushina, so much shock and amazement and longing on her face that Kushina feels a little uncomfortable before she settles into a composed expression. "And you are?" the woman inquires. "Oh, Uzumaki Kushina," she says, hesitantly reaches out a hand for the other woman to shake, unsure if it would be welcome. Her worries are for naught, however, when the woman accepts her hand, shakes it firmly. "Hari," the woman says, staring into Kushina's eyes. "I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, it's just you look remarkably like my mother." "Oh." Kushina's eyes widen, and then she laughs, loud and awkward. "Sorry, I only have one child. A little boy, his name is Naruto." Hari smiles. She turns to Death, cocks an eyebrow at him. "You needed me?" she repeats. Death nods his head, hands her the file from his desk. "She didn't get her orientation," he explains. "And yet Reginald signed it off on the 12th of October stating she did." Hari's eyes scan the file. "I highly doubt you called me for Reapers falsifying documentation," she says dryly. Death hovers over her shoulder, points at a certain spot on the file. "This case is, perhaps, one he should not have lied about," he replies blithely. Hari's eyes widen as she reads, flutters back and forth between the file and Kushina, not unlike Death had. It makes Kushina nervous. "Is something wrong?" she asks loudly, her voice high as she fidgets with her hands. Hari snaps the file closed and puts it on the desk. "Your son, Naruto, is a child of prophecy?" she inquires quietly, an almost tender, sympathetic look on her face. "Potentially," Kushina says just as quietly. "It could have been my husband, Minato, but well, he died with me. We were protecting our son." Hari looks like she just took a hit to the face. "I'm sorry," she says earnestly, genuinely. Kushina studies her. She doesn't just look sympathetic, doesn't look like she's offering perfunctory condolences. No, she looks like she has true understanding, the kind of intimate knowledge that only comes with experience. "Thank you," she says, bows slightly. "It seems their village has not been treating her son with the decency that he deserves," Death says smoothly. "Now where have I heard of that story before?" Hari looks at him sharply, her eyes narrowed in a glare. She doesn't hold it for long, maybe a few moments, but then it dissipates, melting faster than ice on a hot sidewalk. "Why is it always a prophecy?" Kushina swallows thickly. "My son," she says, licks her suddenly dry and chapped lips, "he means everything to me. Minato and I, we died for him, for the village. And they spit on our sacrifice every time they glare at him, every time they suggest he be put down like an animal, and I can't take it." She hisses out the last few words, angry and furious and betrayed, because she fucking loved that damn village, sacrificed everything for it. "I don't know what to do, but I can't do nothing. I can't let my son grow up thinking he was unwanted, unloved, worthless. I just can't." Hari swallows just as thickly, sighs softly. She runs her hands through her ponytail, tugs on it a little as she digests Kushina's words. With a wave of her hand, a chair pops into existence and she sits down in it, crosses her legs, props her elbow on the armrest, and rests her chin on her fist. "What a shit show," she muses. "Please," Kushina begs. Pride means nothing to her where Naruto is concerned, nothing at all. "Please, there must be something that can be done." Hari regards her carefully, purses her lips in consideration. Her eyes flutter over to Death who is watching with a knowing glint in his eyes. She drums her fingers lightly against her chin. "I suppose it can't be helped," she says, stands up and claps her hands. "Wait," Kushina cries, feels the panic clawing at her insides. No, she can't just look at her plight and deem it helpless. She just can't. "I'll go to your village myself," Hari says, snaps her fingers. The file on the desk opens on its own, and a quill whizzes across the room and starts jotting notes in that squiggly code that Kushina can't read. "Death, you will be in charge of handling the Reapers and making sure everything goes smoothly." "Nothing I am unused to," Death agrees, smooths non-existent wrinkles out of his clothes. Don't understand." Kushina looks between the two of them, a hesitant small flame of hope starting to burn inside her. "You'll help." Hari walks to her, grabs her hands. "I'll help," she says softly. Kushina breaks down, sagging in relief. "Thank you," she cries. "Thank you so much. I don't know how to repay you." Hari reaches up to brush away a few of the Riti's tears. "I was a child of prophecy," she admits quietly. And I grew up feeling unwanted, unloved, and worthless. I cannot, in good conscience, stand back and do nothing while someone else goes through the same thing. Kushina envelopes Hari in a hug, squeezes as hard as she can and cries into Hari's neck. She is relieved beyond words, doesn't know how, but feels just so sure that she can trust Hari. Hari doesn't complain, pets Kushina's long red hair. "It'll be okay," she whispers. "I'll find your son and I'll make sure he is treated well. You have my word." For the first time in months, Kushina feels like everything is going to be alright, like things are going to turn around for the better. "I will make all of the necessary arrangements," Mistress Death says. Kushina pulls away from the embrace, quietly apologizes and wipes her eyes. "Mistress?" she questions. Death smiles at her, a hollow smile with sharp teeth and mischievous eyes. "Oh. You didn't know?" He gestures at Hari, says, "This is Harry Potter, the Mistress of Death." Kushina just sobbed over the Mistress of Death. She turns to Hari, mortified, and stammers out another apology. Hari waves her off, uncaring and grins. "Never mind that," she says. "I have some preparing to do if I'm going to go to the elemental nations, and you have a son to watch over. Now, keep in mind, time runs differently here than in your village, so don't be alarmed if your son is a little older now." And before Kushina can even say anything, the Mistress of Death snaps her fingers and Kushina is whisked back to Konoha in the blink of an eye. Chapter 2. Away from all of this. Naruto rubs his aching knuckles, desperately trying to keep the tears at bay. His room is small and dark, cramped, and it feels like the walls are closing in. He didn't mean to make the matron mad at him, but that doesn't matter. It never matters. The fact is, Naruto is a burden. The matron says so herself, always with this look in her eye that makes him feel like he's something unpleasant that she stepped in. Everyone looks at him like this, and he doesn't know why. The workers at the orphanage says it's because he's too loud. They sneer, smack his head to make him quiet. The other kids call him demon, monster, and they look down on him, ignore him, won't let him play with them. He clutches his grumbling stomach tightly. He just wanted something to eat. The matron forgot to feed him again, and not for the first time, and the smells coming from the kitchen had just been too much for him to resist. He wasn't trying to steal food from other people's mouths, honest. It's just doesn't he deserve to eat too? The matron wouldn't listen to him, though she never does, and made him hold his hand out as she brought the ruler down 69 times, one for every person he tried to cheat out of a meal. His knuckles are still smarting from the punishment. They bled at first, but now the skin is healed over, pink, and it doesn't hurt to wiggle his fingers anymore. Naruto hugs his knees to his chest, glares at a spider that makes its way across the old wooden floorboards of the broom closet that now makes up his room. He can hear the other orphans chattering as they play, satisfied after a good breakfast. His nails dig into his knees. He doesn't know why he's different from the other orphans, or why he's the only one always in trouble. Haru is mean, likes to pull on the girl's pigtails, and all he gets for a punishment is sitting in the corner. Naruto breathes wrong, and the matron has her way with the ruler, bringing it down on his hand hard enough that she actually broke it one time. He tries to be good, he really does. It's hard to concentrate in school, but that's because teachers never pay attention to him and the history stuff is so boring. Naruto doesn't care about any of that. He doesn't care when the village was founded, or what the original clans were, or even why the Shinobi Council and Civilian Council work together. He's not old enough yet, but what he really wants is to be a shinobi. He watches them sometimes, staring out the window as they walk up walls and hop the rooftops. They keep the village safe, his teachers say, and are highly respected in the village, with the Hokage being at the very top. And Naruto wants to be talked about like that. He wants people to acknowledge him, to see that he's not a burden. He wants to see those warm caring gazes directed at him. Maybe if he's a ninja, people would stop being so mean. The door to his bedroom opens abruptly and he flinches as light pours in. The matron is an imposing figure, an older woman with soft curly black hair just starting to gray at the roots. She's always frowning at him, always staring at him with cold beady eyes that make him squirm. "We have a visitor today," she informs him in her typical monotonous tone. Naruto hates it when people come to the orphanage. He doesn't understand why he can't just stay in his room when nobody's ever been interested in taking him home, anyways. The matron makes them all put on their best clothes. "Dress to impress," she says with a soft smile as she looks at all of the other orphans. Naruto never gets those smiles. His best clothes are also becoming threadbare. Unlike the other orphans, he's only allowed 3 outfits, and it doesn't matter if they get ripped or stained, because his clothes are never replaced until they absolutely need to be. As a result, he always looks frumpier than the other kids. Anytime there are visitors, they have to stay in the main room. There are 3 large bookcases that cover an entire wall, full of both scrolls and bound books, with 2 beanbag chairs that Naruto isn't allowed to sit in. There's a long rectangular table with several baskets of paper and crayons running down the entire length of it, and Naruto grabs a sheet and a handful of crayons before retreating to a corner. He doesn't pay attention to visitors anymore, not when each and every one of them look at him the same way the matron does. Instead, he draws himself older, stronger, a Konoha headband proudly resting upon his crown of golden hair, adoring fans in the background. He doesn't think it's a silly dream to have, and not even Haru can dissuade him of it. Someday, he'll be big and strong and people won't look at him so coldly. Someday, he'll earn respect and maybe even find a family. Someday. There are footsteps approaching him, but he ignores it, just keeps drawing his picture, hopes that he'll get to keep this one instead of the matron ripping it up and tossing the pieces in the trash. That's a nice picture you're drawing. Naruto freezes, hesitantly looks up. His first thought is that she's not talking to him. But his back is against the wall, so she's not talking to anyone behind him, and a quick glance to each side shows that the other kids have maintained their standard distance away from him. His second thought is that she's not from around here. Her eyes are different, but they're a pretty green, and they're warm. She's a little pale, but not as pale as some of the clanspeople that he's seen outside his window, and her long black hair is pulled into a ponytail that looks nice. She's wearing a bright red t-shirt and black shorts. His final thought is that she's weird. From her exotic features to the way she talks. But the weirdest thing about her? She's smiling at him. Not those mean smiles when he says something stupid or does something wrong, but it's the kind of smile that makes his stomach do weird twists and flops. The kind of smile that he's seen the matron give other kids, the kind of smile some of his classmates have gotten from adults. Huh? He blurts out, confused. She smiles at him, points at his drawing. That looks really good, she says. Naruto's cheeks turn pink, and he swallows thickly. Her voice is different and she pronounces words a little funny, almost like he does, but she sounds so warm and so nice. Thank you. He looks around and he's not the only one baffled at this turn of events. The other orphans are shocked, upset, because they're the ones that are supposed to be getting attention, not him. Never him. The woman reaches her hand up and it's almost instinct for him to flinch, expecting a slap, but instead, she ruffles his hair gently and Naruto is so overwhelmed that he thinks he might actually cry. Do you like to draw a lot? He shrugs because he doesn't know what it's like to do anything else. He's not normally allowed. He eyes her a little warily, but he can't stop that feeling of hope because nobody's ever been so nice to him. Kindness is a luxury that Naruto is never able to afford. But this woman, she's looking at him and she for whatever reason, she doesn't see a burden, a monster, and he wonders if this is what it's like for normal kids. Her eyes wander down to his hands and she frowns. Did you get hurt? The matron's voice cuts through, saying, this one is a troublemaker, Hari-san. He's always starting fights, stealing, picking on other kids. Naruto's stomach growls again, but it's got nothing on the ache in his chest. Because he's not like that. He doesn't steal, and he's never started any fights, and he doesn't pick on the other kids. Naruto does his best to be small and stay out of the way, to not elicit the matron's anger. His world crumbles as he watches the woman's face change. She doesn't look as nice or kind anymore. Her lips are tugged downwards, her brows furrowed, and Naruto sees that look that he's so familiar with. It was only a matter of time, really. He should have known better. Except she's not looking at him with that face. She's looking at the matron. It sounds like he hasn't eaten yet, she says sharply. It's already almost noon. The matron blinks, taken aback. He was caught stealing food this morning, she explains. The woman's eyes narrow. She looks back at Naruto, and she smiles at him. When was the last time you had some food? She asks. Her voice is soft, soothing. Naruto doesn't want to answer her, though. The matron looks unhappy, her mouth pressed in a thin line, and Naruto just knows that he'll get in trouble. He keeps his head down, and he starts drawing again, unwilling to say anything. He startles when a candy bar is placed in front of him. He looks up, and the woman is still smiling at him, not at all upset by his silence, and she holds out the bar of chocolate. His stomach growls again, and Naruto knows he shouldn't, he knows he'll just get in trouble again, but he's so hungry. His hand shakily inches towards it. You'll spoil his lunch, the matron says waspishly. His hand drops. Something tells me you wouldn't have given it to him anyways, the woman bites back. Naruto's never heard anyone talk to the matron this way, and he stares at the woman in open wonder. I think it's time you've left, Pada-san, the matron snaps. The woman gently presses the candy bar into Naruto's hand before she stands. The matron isn't a tall woman compared to other adults, and yet she towers over the woman, her fierce expression enough to make Naruto wilt. If I walk out of here, the woman says calmly, it's to go straight to the Hokage about your gross mistreatment of this boy. The matron rears back, one hand reaching up to grasp her chest. I have given that boy far more than he deserves. She sounds offended, angry. He has clothes on his back, a roof over his head, You have neglected him, the woman interrupts bitingly. She takes a step forward, threatening, and the matron actually stumbles back in surprise. You provide him with the bare essentials, you treat him inadequately, and you call it kindness. Let me tell you something, Haru-san. You won't be doing it anymore. That seems to take the wind out of the matron's sails. She looks baffled, unsure of this turn of events. Excuse me. But the woman doesn't answer her. Instead, she turns to Naruto again. The candy bar is still in his hand, broken under the force of his shaky hand. She kneels in front of Naruto and she smiles at him. What's your name? She asks softly. Naruto swallows thickly. He glances from the matron, whose mouth is still open in shock, to the woman. A few moments pass, and when there's no further protest, he mumbles, Uzumaki Naruto. I'm Padahari, the woman says, extending a hand out. Naruto stares at it, but then his own is reaching out. Hari shakes his hand once. Hi, he says unsurely. Hari doesn't mind. Her smile gets bigger, and it's still nice and warm and directed at him, and he finds himself relaxing a bit, not as tense as before. Naruto, Hari says quietly, do you want to come home with me? Naruto isn't the only one that gasps. Me? He whispers, blinking in disbelief. Hari nods. You, she says. I want to give you a home. Away from all of this. Is that okay with you? Naruto swallows thickly. His eyes burn and he bites down on his lower lip hard just to make sure he's not still sleeping. There's a tinge of copper in his mouth and Hari is still there, so he's awake. He's awake and this is really happening. Hari doesn't push him to make a decision. She just stays there, kneeling in front of him, waiting patiently. He glances around the main room again at the other kids who are as disbelieving as him, but also angry because they're not getting any attention, at the matron who looks bewildered and disgusted and also oddly hopeful, at the other workers who look furious at Hari. They're looking at her the way they look at him. They'll be mean to you, he says sadly, and he shakes his head, lowering it to stare at his drawing. I can't. But Hari puts her hand under his chin and she gently tilts it so he faces her. Her smile is still soft and she tells him that speaks badly about them. But her finger brushes against his cheek just so, and it takes everything in him not to lean into that soft touch, not to melt against her sweet skin. If you really want to stay, I won't force you to come with me, she says. She pulls away a little and Naruto almost grabs onto her hand to stop her, doesn't really want her to leave quite yet, but then she pokes his nose. But I think you don't want to be here, and to tell you the truth, I don't want you to be here either. What I want is for you to be happy. And I think I can make you very happy living with me. Naruto's lower lip wobbles, but he stares at Hari and he wants more than anything to believe her. She doesn't look like she's trying to trick him. Would it be so bad to be around someone who wants him there? You want me? He whispers. Hari beams and Naruto feels something in his chest settle into place. I do, she whispers back. He stares at her, dumbfounded, but then he puts aside his drawing and he shakily raises his hands. He doesn't say anything else, but he doesn't need to. Hari picks him up in her arms and he clings to her. Her hair tickles his nose. He catches sight of the workers' faces and he buries his face in her neck, doesn't want to see those looks anymore. You're adopting the boy. Let me the papers, Hari says, her voice brooking no argument. Her hand strokes his back and Naruto marvels at how nice it feels. Naruto loses track of time after that. The orphanage workers seem to scramble to give Hari papers. She signs them with a flourish, never putting him down. Don't bring him back if you change your mind, the matron demands. She takes the signed papers and stuffs them in her robes, hoards them like it's the most precious thing she has, and her words shouldn't hurt, they really shouldn't, but Naruto can't help the hot tears that leak out of the corners of his eyes. Naruto won't be back here ever again, Hari says serenely. He deserves much more than the subpar care you've been giving him. I don't know what you think a 4-year-old could possibly do, but I do know that your ill treatment of him speaks volumes about your unsavory character. Why you're allowed to care for other children with such a terrible disposition is beyond me. One day, maybe even soon, you will pay for it. And when that day comes, I want you to know that I was behind it entirely. Naruto squeezes her a little tighter, savoring this new feeling of someone actually touching him. Someone actually wanting him. It's wonderful. He doesn't look up, but he knows that eyes follow them as Hari walks away. The matron and the orphanage workers splutter, enraged and offended, but Naruto keeps his head down until he feels the warm breeze ruffle his hair. His stomach gives another pitiful grumble. We should get you something to eat, Hari muses. What's your favorite food? Naruto shrugs. Hari lets out a small laugh. Tough customer, she says. Well, what do you not like to eat? Naruto pulls away a little, looks at her hesitantly. Vegetables, he says quietly. They're always too crunchy and sometimes they smell funny. Hari smiles at him. Oh, you don't. But how would you get big and strong if you don't eat your vegetables? She teases him. He pouts and she pokes his nose again. You know what? I think I know what we're going to eat. Do you want to walk there? Naruto glances at the ground and then looks back at her. He can walk, of course, it's so nice being held by someone. He's seen other kids being carried by their parents and he's always felt sad and jealous because he doesn't have a mom or dad to do that for him. And now he has, well, he doesn't exactly know what to call her. Hari adjusts him so that he's propped on her hip. So, I bet you're pretty confused about everything that's going on, aren't you? Naruto nods his head. Yes. She smiles sadly. Someone told me that the adults at the orphanage weren't treating you very nicely or fairly. They wanted me to take you away because they couldn't do it themselves. Naruto cocks his head a little, pondering this. This doesn't make any sense. He doesn't know anybody that cares about what happens to him. And if somebody does care, where were they? Hari lets out a small sigh. I can't say, she tells him. Naruto frowns. Did you make a promise? Something like that, Hari says. And it's important that I need to keep it. But I can make you a promise, too. When you're older, I'll be able to tell you. Naruto doesn't know what to say to that, so he stays quiet. There are quite a few villagers walking about, openly staring at the two of them as they walk down the street. Hari doesn't seem to notice, just keeps a strong grip on Naruto and starts to chatter aimlessly. Her voice is nice, he thinks, and he feels a frisson of warmth curl in his belly and travel up his chest. His throat feels tight, almost too tight to even speak, and he isn't really sure why. So much has happened today, all of it confusing, and before he even knows it, he's sniffling, hot tears running down his cheeks. He reaches up and angrily brushes them away. He's done with crying. There's a lot going on right now, Hari says softly. And I know it's pretty confusing. I know that we're strangers right now and you don't know if you can trust me, and that's fine. Because I'm going to earn your trust, okay? He sniffles a little, but he nods his head jerkily. What do I call you? He mumbles. You can call me Harioba-chan for now. Does that work? Naruto squints his eyes as he studies her face. But you're not that old. He exclaims. Hari snorts in laughter, as if he said something funny, but she doesn't look or sound mean, so he doesn't say anything. Hari-one-chan. She suggests. Naruto mouths it, likes the way the word tastes on his tongue. He nods his head. Hari-one-chan, he says softly, happily. She beams at him, and then she ruffles his hair. He savors the feeling this time, leans into it. He's going to like having an one-chan, he just knows it. Chapter 3. Time to clean house. It's been years, Kushina says, her voice deceptively calm and quiet. It has. Hari doesn't spare her a glance until she's sure that Naruto is sleeping soundly in his bed. It's only the late afternoon, but Naruto quickly grew sleepy after he polished off 2 large bowls of ramen. He hadn't protested much when Hari suggested a nap, only told her that he wasn't a baby as his eyes drifted shut and he curled in the comfortable bed she'd bought him. What took so long? Kushina demands, glaring at Hari. Hari cocks an eyebrow at her. I am in charge of every soul that crosses over, she says slowly, pointedly. I got here as fast as I could. Kushina flinches at the gentle rebuke, clenches her fist and bows her head. I'm sorry. She collapses into a nearby chair, almost phasing through it. I don't want you to think that I don't appreciate what you're doing. I do, more than you could imagine. It's just. He suffered in the time it took me to get here. It's not a question. After all, Hari had suffered during her lifetime. When she retrieved Naruto from the orphanage, it was like she was looking at her past self. Small, malnourished, touch-starved and desperate for some kind of affection or acknowledgement of her existence. Her heart broke when his stomach growled, when he was scared to accept a candy bar from her. He was so light in her arms, and he'd clung to her like a monkey, unwilling to lose her gentle touch. Kushina nods, finally looking up. Her eyes are anguished but furious. I hate them so much, she whispers, her words barely more than a hiss. Damn this village for what they've done to my son. Damn them. Hari regards her with serious eyes. There's not much that she can say in the face of Kushina's anger. Hari knows that if anybody had dared to treat Teddy poorly, she would have leveled the world in retaliation. It's a miracle Kushina hasn't become a vengeful spirit at this point. I can't change the past, Hari says carefully, but I swear to you, I am going to do my best to give Naruto the life he deserves. Kushina wipes away the few tears that slid down her face. He wants to be a shinobi, you know. After everything this village has done to my son, he still wants to protect them. She sniffles, closing her eyes. Konoha doesn't deserve him. Hari moves closer to Kushina, grabs her hands. Kushina startles, not expecting the touch, but then she grasps tightly to Hari's hands, as if Hari is her lifeline. They don't, not now, but they will, Hari promises. How? Hari licks her lips. I have a plan, she admits. And I'll definitely need your help to pull it off. Kushina sits up straighter. What do you need? Sarutobi Hiruzen is too old for this shit. He stares down at the paperwork in his hands and he wonders just when the fuck the inner workings of his own village got so out of hand. The adoption papers were signed recently, only 2 weeks ago, but the paperwork is all in order, completely legal, and there's nothing that can be done about it. Well, that's not strictly true. Technically speaking, as the supreme authority in the village, despite what his former teammates believe, he can nullify the paperwork. It would set a nasty precedence, but it could be done. Ultimately, the adoption is only part of the problem. A large part, but still only a part. Hiruzen looks over the other papers on his desk. Naruto's new guardian, a foreigner named Patahari, only became a citizen a mere month ago. The file on her is woefully slim, and that makes everything all the more suspicious. She arrived completely under the radar, integrated herself into the village without arousing so much as a whisper, and not only did she manage to successfully purchase property near the Uchiha complex, but she also just so happened to adopt the one child, with the power to once again bring Konoha to its knees. Like any self-respecting shinobi, Hiruzen does not believe in coincidences. So, yes, Naruto's adoption by a complete stranger is alarming. If this stranger has any ill intentions towards the village, to say that there will be problems is a gross understatement. But an equally big part of this problem is that none of his subordinates saw fit to inform him of these proceedings until after they've already happened. Perhaps Danzo is right, Hiruzen thinks mildly. To an extent, at least. Perhaps he is too soft. Why else would people think they can pull one over on him? Hiruzen shuffles through the papers calmly, aware that he's exuding copious amounts of killing intent. His secretary is practically hyperventilating, her eyes wide and frightened. Good. She should be scared. And why, Asuna-san, am I only being informed of this now? He questions. His tone is still soft, almost pleasant, but the tension in the air disrupts that illusion. He reins back some of his killing intent, but only because she can hardly stutter out a response. Asuna immediately falls to her knees, bowing her head in deference. For a civilian, she recovers quickly. Forgive me, Hokage-sama, she stammers. I only just received the paperwork this morning. Hiruzen makes a small noise in acknowledgement. He sets the papers down in a neat pile, interlacing his fingers on his desk and offering Asuna a genial smile. She winces, and he knows that she can tell he is most displeased. It's not that Hiruzen wants Naruto to be miserable. If he were able to, he'd take the boy in himself. After all, Minato and Kushina were like family, and it is a mighty disservice to their memory that their beloved son languishes away in an orphanage. But Hiruzen has to think of every single person in Konoha, not just Naruto. And the fact is that Konoha is still not quite back on its feet after the Kyuubi incident. The villagers that Hiruzen loves with all his heart do not accept the young Uzumaki. Danzo keeps pushing to have the boy trained with Na, but Hiruzen knows that Minato and Kushina would both somehow come back from the dead and eviscerate him for even entertaining the idea. More than that, although Hiruzen can accept that Na is a necessary evil to some extent, he does not approve of that sect of Anbu. He fully embraces his sensei's teachings of the will of fire and Na actively squashes that belief. That is not something that Hiruzen will ever subject Naruto to. It was with a heavy heart that Naruto was placed in the orphanage at the tender age of 2. After the incident with his last caretaker, Hiruzen had comforted himself with the fact that at the very least the orphanage is better than Na. Hiruzen knows the matron harbors a deep-seated loathing, if not outright hatred, for Naruto, for the burden the young Uzumaki has to carry. Still, Hiruzen thought she'd feared and respected him enough to ensure that Naruto lives a somewhat adequate life. Her signature taunts him from its place on the paperwork. Hadar-san allowed Naruto to be taken in by an unknown element in a breathtakingly dangerous breach of security. Unacceptable. Perhaps it's time for the village to remember that Hiruzen is hailed as the god of shinobi for a reason. Let me Shikaku, he demands. He settles back in his chair as one of the hidden Anbu in his office leaves to do as he bid, their chakra signature getting further away. Hokage-sama, there's something else, Asuna says hesitantly. She swallows audibly when she has his undivided attention. Pada-san has requested an audience with you. The words are said in a rush, strung together in such a way that they're almost indecipherable. Hiruzen stares at her with cold, hard eyes, his lips nothing more than a severe, displeased line. She shrinks back from his stare, shivers as the killing intent in the room soars once more. For when? He asks, his tone clipped and barely suppressing his fury. She's right outside, Hokage-sama. Before he can say anything else, Shikaku arrives, stepping out gracefully from the shadows with little fanfare. He takes in the scene with sharp eyes and bows his head respectfully. Hokage-sama, he greets, not a trace of his usual lazy drawl. Inform Pada-san that I will see her shortly, Asuna-san, Hiruzen says. His secretary nods her head gratefully, bowing once more before heading towards the door. Make no mistake, Asuna-san, I am very displeased with the way you've handled this situation. We will be discussing this further at a later date. But that final rebuke, Asuna hastily flees, nearly slamming the door shut in her haste. Shikaku takes it all in with a curious lift of his brow. How can I be of assistance, Hokage-sama? Hiruzen hands him the paperwork. Read. He's more than gratified when Shikaku grows alarmed as he takes in the paperwork Hiruzen received not a full hour ago. Have you heard of this Badahari? Shikaku shakes his head. Nothing, he says. He looks up at Hiruzen. This doesn't make sense, Hokage-sama. Our security measures have tightened over the past few years, especially since the Kumo incident. It should not have been so easy for this woman to gain citizenship or adopt any child here, let alone the Uzumaki child. Hiruzen leans forward. Then how did she manage to do just that? And that's the question, isn't it? Shikaku lifts the paperwork. It's been a while since Inoichi made some house calls, he murmurs. Indeed, Hiruzen agrees. He motions for Shikaku to stand beside him and then he presses the button on the intercom and says, you may send her in, Asuna-san. Hiruzen doesn't have to wait long before Badahari walks into his office. She bows respectfully, a large envelope in her hand. Her picture doesn't quite do her justice. With her long black hair swept up in a ponytail, Hiruzen can see a thin, nearly indistinguishable scar in the shape of a lightning bolt on her forehead, faded over time. Her eyes are green and the shape of them is almost familiar. Pale skin, high cheekbones, her facial structure is similar to that of a Hyuga's. Okage-sama, she greets when she stands. She doesn't hold herself the way a civilian does. Hiruzen knows he's not the only one to notice how her eyes scan the room for exits, how her stance is relaxed but ready should she need to fight. This woman has seen combat and something in Hiruzen tells him that she's dangerous. Shikaku shifts his weight slightly, just enough that Hiruzen knows Shikaku sees it too. Have a seat, Pada-san, Hiruzen says, gesturing towards one of the chairs on the other side of his desk. She flops into the chair gracelessly. Please, call me Hari, she insists. Hiruzen nods his head but does not extend the same courtesy. Hari-san, he corrects amicably, what can I do for you today? I apologize for meeting you so early in the morning, but this was the only opening your secretary could find, she says. Yet another strike against Asuna. What is this about, Hari-san? Shikaku interjects. Hari smiles pleasantly at them before handing over the envelope. Hiruzen doesn't think anybody would be stupid enough to attempt to kill him in his own office, but considering how this woman managed to bypass necessary security measures, it wouldn't hurt to exercise some caution. Shikaku accepts the envelope, subtly checking it for anything out of the ordinary. I've come to petition for the right to establish my clan in Konoha, she elaborates. Hiruzen cocks an eyebrow. Konoha has always welcomed clans with open arms, but being an established clan in this village can give clan head certain rights and privileges that he's not certain an unknown woman should have. Still, perhaps it's something he can consider. Inoichi will have to give her a thorough mental exam to ensure that she's not a threat to the village or to Naruto, which he was planning to order anyway, but having the Pada clan established in Konoha could help cement loyalties. His conditional answer is on the tip of his tongue when he opens the envelope and sees the name of the clan actually listed on the paperwork. He stills, his gaze traveling from the paper to Hari, who maintains her pleasant smile. Uzumaki? He questions. Hari nods her head firmly. Naruto and I are very similar in that we both look like our fathers, but the blood of our mothers still runs strong through our veins, she says calmly, seemingly unconcerned with the way that Hiruzen jerks back at that statement. With Uzushio destroyed and the rest of the clan scattered across the elemental nations, I thought the best course of action would be to establish the Uzumaki clan in Konoha, our one sister village. It's Shikaku that speaks up since Hiruzen is at a loss for words. And how do you know that Naruto's Uzumaki parent is his mother? Hari's eyes bore into Hiruzen's as she answers. Kushina was my mother's cousin, she explains. They kept in touch after Kushina left Uzushio to join Konoha, even after Uzushio's destruction. I was too young to remember her, but my mother spoke of her often. Silence settles between them for a moment. Hiruzen eyes her cautiously, but he's unable to detect any bit of deceit from her. Either she's really good or she's telling the truth. We'll need to verify your claims, Hiruzen says. I expected nothing less. Hari reaches into the pocket of her shorts and pulls out an old folded picture. She hands it to Shikaku. There's a letter from Kushina to my mother in that envelope and I am ready to go to the hospital and take a blood test. The picture, deeply creased and slightly faded, shows a young couple carrying a small infant. It doesn't take a genius to guess that this is Hari's family. She could almost be a clone of the man in the photo. They have the same wild black hair, the same cheekbones, the same chin. But the woman with the exception of her eye color, she could have been a dead ringer for Kushina. Bright red hair, oddly shaped eyes only slightly duller than Hari's. Hiruzen reaches into the envelope and pulls out the letter. It's crumpled and dirty in several places, some of the characters smudged with what looks like water damage, but what makes him pause is the familiar handwriting. It could be a forgery, but that would be incredibly difficult to do. After all, it's not like there are samples of Kushina's handwriting to copy from inside Konoha, let alone outside. July 31, XXXX. Yuri-chan. Wish Hari-chan a happy birthday. I can't believe she's so grown now. I still remember when she was toddling into trouble, giving you premature gray hairs. Make sure you give her a big hug from me. And I bet you're wondering what the results of my appointment were. Without further ado, let me tell you that we're having a boy. I can't believe I'll be having a little boy just like Makoto-chan. Little Sasuke was born just last week and he looks just like his mother. I hope our sons will end up on the same genin team. Minato hasn't stopped crying, the big sap. We haven't decided on a name quite yet, but I think we're leaning towards calling him Naruto after the main character in Jiraiya's book. Strong, brave, smart, I couldn't ask for better qualities for my son to have. I know it's hard being in different villages, but I swear, Naruto will grow up knowing about Uzushio. Our legacy doesn't have to die just because our homeland was destroyed. It's taken me a long time to see this, but Minato's really opened my eyes. Uzushio will live on in the hearts of those left behind. I want Naruto to know about everything. I want him to learn Fuinjutsu, to be able to speak to the waves, all of it. I really wish you would consider moving to Konoha. Family has to stick together and I really think you'd come to love living here as much as Uzushio. At the very least, consider visiting when the baby is born. If Jameyusu and Hari my love. Kushina. Without another word, Hiruzen puts the letter back in the envelope and hands it to Shikaku. They'll need to send the documentation to the intelligence division to thoroughly investigate it to determine if these are forgeries or not. If she really is descended from the Uzumaki clan, Naruto's adoption makes sense. That wasn't something Hiruzen had considered. His immediate thought was that she was an enemy, perhaps even a sleeper agent, but not once did long-lost relative cross his mind. Despite this new knowledge, if verified, that doesn't excuse the gross mishandling of paperwork, the severe breach of protocol and security measures. But maybe with an established Uzumaki clan in Konoha, maybe he could finally honor Minato and Kushina's dying wish. Why now? Hiruzen asks. Why not immediately after Kushina died? My parents died and I had to settle matters with my father's clan. Hari's face is a little closed off, but not enough that he can't see the raw grief still lingering in her eyes. Hiruzen nods his head, accepting the answer for now. It's been a long time since there's been more than one Uzumaki in Konoha, Hiruzen remarks, passing the beloved picture back. I would like for there to be more, Hari says. Although, I must admit, I do have some concerns about settling down here. Concerns? It's the first time that her pleasant demeanor falters, shifts into something that has the hairs on the back of Hiruzen's neck stand up in alert attention. I do not take kindly to people mistreating my family. Her voice is quiet but steely, hard in a way that gives Hiruzen a sense of foreboding. When I found Naruto at that orphanage, he was not being treated in a manner even close to adequate. Hiruzen stiffens, his back ramrod straight. Please explain what you mean, Hari-san, he murmurs. Hari's upper lip twitches, as if she wants to snarl. He hadn't been fed in days, she says coldly. Naruto told me he was accused of stealing food and had his hand beaten until the ruler snapped in half. I personally witnessed Haderu-san and the other workers at the orphanage treat Naruto as if he were diseased, as if he were a rabid dog. Okazama, I don't know what a 4-year-old can possibly do to deserve such treatment, but rest assured, it is not something I find acceptable in the slightest. I can assure you, Hari-san, Haderu-san will be thoroughly investigated and dealt with accordingly, Hiruzen says tightly. Hari cocks an eyebrow in disbelief. With all due respect, Okazama, it sounds like this has been going on for quite some time. I understand that you are a busy man, but if this is the kind of behavior we can expect from the villagers, perhaps it would be best if we live elsewhere. It's more of a promise than a threat, something not many people would dare do to his face, and it's something that Hiruzen absolutely cannot let happen. Kushina would not have wanted her son to be treated as a pariah, Hari cuts in viciously. Her eyes are glacial, unforgiving. She would not have wanted her son to know that he is, for some unfathomable reason, universally hated in the village that should be his home. Frankly, Okazama, Kushina would be disgusted with Konoha. Hari lets out a deep sigh. Please understand that I take my duties to Naruto very seriously. His mistreatment is not just upsetting. It's appalling, deplorable. And it's something that has been allowed to happen in the place he was supposed to be safe. Assuming the validity of your claims check out and you can legally remove him from the village, you would be within your rights to do so. Shikaku says lightly. But if you have these concerns with the village, why are you petitioning to establish the Uzumaki clan here? Some of the frost in Hari's demeanor melts and she crosses her legs and leans back. Because Naruto loves this village, she admits. He wants to be a proud shinobi of Konoha. I am willing to keep him here and help him realize this dream, but only if certain conditions are met. Hiruzen makes a small thoughtful noise. What conditions would those be? Hari lifts her fingers and starts listing them off. 1. The Uzumaki clan is to be established with me as the clan head. Naruto will be my heir. 2. Hadaru-san and the orphanage workers will be appropriately punished for their mistreatment of Naruto. I want to be kept in the loop as to what happens to them to ensure that this matter is not simply swept under the rug. And 3. The village will treat Naruto in a way befitting his new station. No more glares, no more whispers, and no more threats. It all stops or we're gone. Those aren't terrible conditions, Hiruzen admits. But you can't expect public opinion to sway so quickly. It will when there are actual consequences for bad behavior, Hari points out, eyeing Hiruzen as if he were being purposefully obtuse. Right now, Naruto's mistreatment goes without being punished. Like bullies that go unchecked, they will continue to treat Naruto poorly until either it escalates to the point of no return or their behavior is corrected. Which would Kushina hate more? Her son thriving in a different village or Konoha murdering him? The words are harsh, caustic, and Hiruzen tightens his fist. He wants to defend the village, wants to defend these people that he's all too willing to lay down his life for, but her words make him pause and he realizes that he can't. There's nothing he can say to prove her words false because they aren't. Naruto's mistreatment is a stain upon Konoha. Minato's dying wish was for his son to be viewed as a hero, and that is something the village has failed at. Hiruzen's inability to keep his own village in line, something blatantly shoved in his face with this entire fiasco, has directly contributed to the desecration of Minato's final wishes. The village's failure is his failure. We would have our own conditions, he says calmly. The first thing we need to do is verify your claim as an Uzumaki. You will need to meet with our mind specialist and submit to a thorough mental examination. Once we are sure that you pose no threat to the village or Naruto, only then will you be established as the head of the Uzumaki clan. I will personally check on you at random intervals to ensure that Naruto is being treated well, and you will be assigned a shinobi guard for the first year of your tenure as clan head. Are these terms agreeable? Consider this a done deal. Hari stands up and smooths invisible wrinkles from her clothes, extending her hand. When do we get the testing done? Naruto gets out of school in a few hours. Hiruzen stands as well and shakes her hand. She has a strong grip, calloused fingers that suggest hard work. Shikaku here will take both you and Naruto to the hospital when the academy lets out, he says in a voice that brooks no argument. Hari nods in agreement and then bows. Thank you for your time Hokage-sama, Shikaku-san. Her exit is quiet, but it leaves behind echoes that have the potential to disrupt the very foundations of Konoha. What are your thoughts, Shikaku? Hiruzen reaches for his pipe and lights it. If she's lying, she got her information from an inside source, the lazy man says bluntly. I can have the intelligence division analyze the letter, but I honestly don't think it was a forgery. It sounds as if Kushina herself actually wrote it. Hiruzen nods his head slowly. And do you think establishing the Uzumaki clan here is a wise move? At this point, it sounds like it'll be the only way to keep Naruto in Konoha. Shikaku is careful in the way he says it, but the truth still stings. Because he could nullify the adoption and kick Hari out of the village, but considering that she is one of a few handfuls of Uzumaki left in the elemental nations, it would be a stain upon the village. Uzushio and Konoha were sister villages once upon a time, and to turn away from a daughter of Uzushio would be the highest dishonor. Troublesome, he says mildly. Shikaku lets out a bark of laughter. Very troublesome, he agrees. He sobers up after a moment. Will that be all, Hokage-sama? Hiruzen nods his head firmly. I believe you mentioned something about T&I making house calls. It will be done immediately. With a respectful bow, Shikaku melts into the shadows. It's time to clean house. Chapter 4. Inu's new mission. It isn't until his bed partner turns to get the money that Kakashi slits his throat. The man doesn't see it coming, inebriated and sated as he is, and Kakashi watches dispassionately as he bleeds out, his body coming to an eerie stillness. Honeypot missions aren't his favorite, but Kakashi is one of the best ninjas that Konoha has to offer. He knows probably more than most just what it takes to have the honor, the privilege, of wearing his village's symbol across his head. His mind, body, and soul, everything that he is, really all belongs to Konoha. His target, a wealthy businessman with personal ties to the rakeage, was easy enough to extract information from. Men like him always are. A little alcohol to loosen the tongue, compliments to feed his ego, and then he'd been mere putty in Kakashi's hands. Kakashi rolls out of the blood-soaked mattress. His clothes are all over the floor, but he finds them easily enough, slipping into them efficiently. Rummaging through the target's personal things takes little time, and Kakashi seals away anything that can be useful, such as business ledgers and expansion plans. Konoha won't be caught off guard by another Kumo incident. Never again. Once he has everything he needs, he unseals and dons his Inu mask and Anbu regulation cloak. And before the body even has time to cool, Kakashi opens the window and slips away into the night. He sets a punishing speed, pouring chakra into his legs. It should be a while before anyone finds the body, but it's always prudent to put as much distance between himself and the scene of the crime as possible. Kakashi runs and runs, and when he starts to tire and slow down, he pops a chakra pill and pushes himself faster. The faster he gets back to Konoha, the faster he gets put back on Naruto's detail. Thoughts of his sensei's son always send a pang of devastation through him. It's the gravest injustice, Naruto languishing in the orphanage, completely unaware of his parentage, mistreated and maligned by the very village his mere existence protects. Kakashi hates not being able to take care of sensei's legacy himself. He hates being relegated to mere guard duty when he should be so much more. But Kakashi understands the Sandame's reasoning, even if he loathes it. Naruto already looks so much like Minato-sensei. If Kakashi were to be seen with a young boy, Naruto's parentage wouldn't exactly be an unreasonable leap to make. And the Kumo incident was proof enough that Kakashi was needed to protect his village. Konoha is still weak from the Kyuubi incident, and they could not afford to show it. So as much as Kakashi hates to leave Naruto behind, for the good of the village, he will do as he must. It's only when Kakashi crosses the border back into Hai no Kuni that he slows down. His rest is small, just long enough to drink water and down a ration bar, and then he's off again. If anybody had been on his trail, he would have lost them long ago. Still, Kakashi didn't become one of the best shinobi Konoha has to offer by becoming complacent. He stays on high alert through the dense foliage and tall trees all the way until he gets back to Konoha. The Hokage monument is the first thing that comes into view. Minato-sensei's face immortalized in stone overlooks the village. Not for the first time, Kakashi wonders what sensei would think of the village mistreating his son. He wonders how much of the village would be left in the wake of sensei's rage. Kakashi slows down his pace as he approaches the Chunin manning the front gate, just long enough for them to read his chakra signature and gesture him through. He doesn't have time to enjoy being back inside Konoha. Kakashi immediately takes to the rooftops and makes a beeline towards the Hokage tower, chakra making the trip quick and painless. Hokage-sama, Kakashi greets monotonously, dropping into a bow after he slips in through the window. The Hokage spares him a glance, and for the first time in a while, Kakashi feels the faintest stirring of unease. It isn't unusual for the Hokage to give shinobi his undivided attention, but there's something different about the way he sets his pen aside, the way he keeps his posture carefully neutral. Kakashi doesn't know the Hokage personally, by any means, but he's served under this Hokage long enough to know when something is off. Report, the Hokage demands. Target neutralized, Kakashi says. He reaches inside his cloak for the sealed scrolls and, after a nod from the Hokage, stands and walks over to set them on his desk. He stays standing, at attention, fully expecting to be dismissed with a week off and a mandatory appointment with T&I. It's the standard for all missions A rank and above, after all, and even Moreso for deep infiltration and honeypot missions. Sex with a target can make any shinobi unsettled, or at least that's what his designated mind specialist always says. Instead, the Hokage pulls out his pipe and lights it. Kakashi watches dispassionately. Naruto, the Hokage says. And if he expects to get a reaction out of Kakashi, well, Kakashi isn't one of the best shinobi for no reason. Beyond the horrible swooping in his gut, Kakashi doesn't react. After all, Kakashi hasn't broken any rules. The Hokage can order him to recover from his mission, but he cannot dictate what Kakashi does during that recovery period. So long as he doesn't make contact with Naruto, he's free to keep watch over the boy. It's a loophole he's prone to exploiting. And he'll be damned if anybody tries to stop him. But the Hokage doesn't say anything further. Instead, the Hokage opens one of the drawers in his desk and hands out a folder. When Kakashi opens it, his entire world tilts on its axis. Because the first thing he sees is paperwork. Adoption paperwork. For Naruto. His rage is sharp and hot, bitter, buzzing throughout his entire body, as if he were an abiram hosting insects. All this time he's spent lurking in the shadows protecting sensei's precious son from afar, unable to adopt him or properly look out for him, all because of this pretense that Kakashi's presence will invite danger. It's not an altogether wrong assumption. Everyone that Kakashi's come to care deeply for, his father, his teammates, his sensei, have all died before their time. That's just fact. Even he wouldn't entrust a little boy who houses the most powerful Biju to him. Not when he was 14, not even now that he's older. But for the Hokage to allow a foreigner, someone from outside of the village, to come and raise Naruto. Oh, how it stings. Something acrid and harsh slides down his throat when he swallows. Kakashi has given everything to this village. He's given his trust, his loyalty, his suffering. He's done it gladly, has always put Konoha's needs above his own, even when its villagers scorn the person he values most. Never before has it felt so worthless. Never before has he felt so deceived. Because deception goes hand in hand with a shinobi's life. It's not personal. Nothing is more important than the village. Kakashi knows this better than most. So why does the knowledge taste like ash on his tongue? For Naruto's safety, he is to be raised in the orphanage, Kakashi says softly. It's towing the line of subordination, the way he flings the Hokage's words back at him, not quite accusatory, but nowhere close to absolution. He is to remain ignorant of his heritage and parentage until such a time comes that he can properly defend himself against foreign threats. I am to have limited contact so as to completely remove all hints of Namiki's Minato's connection to Uzumaki Naruto. Like a good shinobi, Kakashi had obeyed. It nearly broke him further, but for Naruto's sake, he made sure to never be seen next to the boy. He made sure to always be on the boy's security detail, grasping to honor his sensei in any way that he could, but avoided direct contact. And yet, here the Hokage was, allowing a potential foreign threat to adopt him. They are blood relatives, the Hokage says. He might as well be talking about the weather, his words cool and measured, as if he hadn't plunged a kunai into Kakashi's back. As if he didn't spit on sensei's sacrifice. Because Kakashi isn't suicidal, he doesn't directly ask the Hokage if senility has rotted his brain. Instead, he says, we haven't seen evidence of other Uzumaki since Uzushio fell. And it's not like Kushina didn't look every time she had a mission outside the village. The Hokage breathes out another plume of smoke. Blood tests confirm it. Pada-san has Uzumaki blood. Well, it's not like blood can't be fooled. If Orochimaru's experimentation can make Tenzo appear to be a full-blooded Senju, then surely someone can replicate that to gain custody of Naruto. Has. Inoichi did her mind walk himself, the Hokage interrupts, as if he can read Kakashi's mind. Maybe he was fooled. The Hokage doesn't comment on his tone. One of her youngest memories is of Kushina encouraging her to walk. When Kakashi freezes, the Hokage mercilessly continues, she has exact memories of what Uzushio looked like before the fall. Someone who had only seen the ruins would not be able to replicate it. Despair claws at his heart. Kakashi stares at the Hokage, and for a moment he thinks he might need to use chakra to remain upright, lest he go crashing to the ground in supplication for something the Hokage would deny him. He nods his head slowly, almost in a daze. What his voice sounds wrecked to his own ears, and he cuts himself off, violently biting down on his tongue. Never before had Kakashi thought the Hokage to be cruel, but the Hokage's words cut through the haze of devastation. Given the blood relation to Naruto, I will not be overturning the adoption. This can't be happening. Hokage-sama, Ada-san has given up her father's name and will henceforth be known as Uzumaki Hari. She will be established as the head of the Uzumaki clan with Naruto as her heir. The Hokage sets down his pipe. His eyes, normally warm and caring, have frosted over. A long-established law has been for the limited interference into clan affairs. This will not change. It almost sounds like a threat. It takes everything left in Kakashi to jerk his head in a parody of a nod. Yes, Hokage-sama. That being said, I have a mission for Inu. The Hokage leans back in his chair, finally relaxing, his cold demeanor thawing faster than ice on a hot sidewalk. With the Uzumaki clan rooting itself in Konoha, word will spread, and that may mean the resurgence of old enemies. Kakashi isn't called a genius for nothing. Kumo and Iwa. The Hokage nods. Uzumaki Hari and Naruto are to be under constant surveillance by Anbu Inu until such a time comes that the clan is well established. You are to protect them from threats, both foreign and domestic. There's a long pause, far longer than it normally takes Kakashi to respond, and understanding slowly dawns on him. He's not being sent out of the village. He's not being forced to stay away from Naruto and the new Uzumaki clan head. The vice grip on his heart eases. Once that realization settles into his head, Kakashi lowers himself into a bow. I accept, Hokage-sama. The Hokage stands, tucking his arms into long sleeves of his robes. He walks over to the window and stares out at the village. Perhaps it's for the best, he murmurs. With someone looking out for Naruto's best interests, maybe Minato and Kushina can finally rest in peace. Kakashi stays kneeling. For a while, he doesn't know what to say. You could have let me be there for him. I would have protected that boy with everything I have. Why did it take a foreigner to get you to see how badly you failed him? Instead, he says, as you will it, Hokage-sama. A moment of silence, and then the Hokage sighs. Report to T&I for your debriefing, he orders. In a week's time, after you've been cleared, I want you to meet me at the academy. I'll have to introduce you to Naruto's new clan head myself. Hari can feel the eyes boring into her back as if she were some magnificent creature languishing in a glass cage, but Hari knows it's because she is not from Konoha. It's not often that outsiders join the village, least of all new clans establishing. But the whispers. Do you think she'll take the boy away? I feel bad for the poor woman. She doesn't know about it. It doesn't matter. If she's willing to associate with that creature, then she's just as evil. A lifetime of learning how to ignore caustic whispers is, perhaps, the only thing that saves these ignorant villages from being ripped a new asshole. Hari maintains her pleasant facade, her eyes casually committing each face to memory. There will be a time and place for dealing with these unpleasant people. They infuriate me, Kushina hisses next to her. Ignorant sons of bitches. Hari windlessly casts a privacy charm so that she can talk to Kushina and not be deemed crazy. They don't know any better, she points out. Kushina levels a glare at her. Are you really defending them? She demands. Of course not, Hari says. She shrugs her shoulders. I'm just saying that they don't know any better. But they will. I'll teach them. Oh, how she'll teach them. She already has the nastiest runes lining their new home. All it takes is one person with ill intentions to try to get into her home and the entire village will know what happens to people who seek to harm her family. Because that's what Naruto is now. They might not be truly related, no matter that she carefully crafted this human body with their relation in mind, but he is as good as hers now. It's been so long since she accepted her title as Mistress of Death that she's almost forgotten what it means to be human. But Naruto is a wonderful child, a beacon of light that hasn't graced her life since Teddy was still a tyke. He's still more subdued than she'd like, and she doesn't know how long the orphanage will leave its mark on him, but Naruto is delightfully inquisitive, caring, and an exuberant boy. She wants to give him everything that she never had. Bedtime stories, forehead kisses, bubble baths, warm hugs. He'll get to experience it all for the both of them. They'll pay, Kushina whispers darkly. Hari nods her head serenely. They will, she promises. He will make the world remember why the Uzumaki clan were feared. Kushina closes her eyes and the angry lines of her face settle. I never thought I'd see the Uzumaki clan revitalized, she admits softly. Hari understands. There was a time when the Potter name rested entirely on her shoulders. It had seemed impossible, insurmountable, but when she finally left the world, there were 3 beautiful children to continue her legacy. With your help, the Uzumaki will thrive once more. After all, without Kushina contributing to Hari's forged memories, she would have no idea how to restore a clan. Kushina smiles weakly. You have no idea how thankful I am, she murmurs. My son gets to grow up loved and my clan will live on through him. To be honest, I still have a hard time believing it. She falters. I'm sorry you had to give up your father's name. Hari waves her off. I've worn my father's name for many lifetimes, she confesses. It is no hardship to go by a different one. She smiles. And besides, now I'm as much an Uzumaki as you, and it is a name I will wear proudly. Before Kushina can respond, the school bell cuts through the yard. Hari drops the privacy ward and watches as children run out of the building, laughing and launching themselves into the waiting arms of their parents. She searches for a familiar head of blonde hair, but frowns when she doesn't see it. Naruto typically walks out of the school, his eyes cautious but searching, and whenever he finds her, his little body sags in relief, as if he'd been bracing himself for her absence. It awakens a furious rage within her, molten hot and scorching with its intensity. The parallels between her own pitiful childhood and Naruto's are painfully blatant. There isn't anything she can do about her own childhood, but she can make a world of difference for Naruto. But where is he? Hari stalks forward purposefully, not caring when parents pull their children well out of her way. There's a Chunin at the doors, answering questions and wishing students a good weekend. She stops just short and waits patiently to catch his attention. Can I help you? He asks. His brown hair is swept up into a high ponytail, his headband proudly shining on his forehead. He regards her with polite neutrality, but he can't quite hide the slight downward twitch of his lips. I don't see my cousin, Hari says breezily. She keeps a smile firmly on her lips, even as she feels Kushina becoming slowly enraged by her side. Has he been held up for some reason? The Chunin drops the neutrality. I can take you to him if you follow me, Uzumaki-san, he says. Uzumaki-sama, Hari corrects. At his confused look, she smiles even wider at him, all teeth. I believe clan heads are to be addressed with the sama suffix, are they not? Or do you believe the Uzumaki clan head to be exempt from this show of respect? Her voice grows progressively colder as she talks, watching as the man in front of her gets progressively angrier. Right this way, Uzumaki-sama, he nearly hisses, ushering her into the building. The academy is nothing like her primary school back in England. The layout is confusing, no doubt designed to propose a challenge to any foreign shinobi who somehow found himself deep within Konoha. With its long, winding hallways and frequent twists, it would be difficult for any newcomer to keep their bearings. Hari is not just any newcomer. She has the echoes of Kushina's memories to help guide her, since the man before her doesn't care to slow down or ensure that she's following. The blatant disrespect has Kushina spitting curses, her red hair wild and untamed. Hari only smiles. All in due time. He stops before a door. Even with it closed, Hari can hear sniffling. Without another moment to waste, she opens the door and walks into the room. Naruto is at the chalkboard, sniffling quietly, writing lines. Her heart nearly breaks at the kanji littering the board. I will not disturb the class. Over and over, shaky, uneven kanji plastered across the chalkboard. If Hari were back home, she wouldn't dare to peek into anyone's mind, but several millennia stripped of her humanity has stripped her morals as well. She peeks into the Chunin's mind, painlessly so he remains unaware, and plucks the information from him. Naruto asking a question. Naruto being ignored. Naruto turning to ask his classmates. Naruto getting in trouble. It's so ridiculously unfair how his teacher swoops down on him, like Snape had once done to her, accusing Naruto of sabotaging his classmates, not listening to his protests, and assigning punishment. She closes her eyes and takes this all in, processing it, and when she opens her eyes again, she aims such a concentrated blast of killing intent at the Chunin that he abruptly falls to his knees, paralyzed with fear. The stench of urine hits her nose, and it almost makes her smile. Naruto, she calls out. He turns around, tears in his eyes, and he immediately drops the chalk. He hops off the chair he needed to even reach the damn board and runs over to her, throwing himself into her open arms. Wani-chan, he sobs. She rubs his back soothingly before deciding to just carry him. He clings to her much like he did when she took him out of the orphanage, and it's enough to make her glare at the Chunin again. What happened? Naruto sniffles. Takahashi-sensei wouldn't listen, he says, his voice muffled against her neck. I couldn't hear him, so I asked a question like you told me to, but he ignored me and got mad when I tried to ask someone else. His breath hitches. He said it didn't matter that I had a clan now, that I was still a nuisance who needed to learn respect. Did he now? Hari stares dispassionately as the Chunin trembles before her. I guess we're going to have to do something about that. And without another word, she walks away. She murmurs soothing words into Naruto's ear, rubbing his back as she exits the academy. Mostly everyone's gone home by now, with the only exception being the shinobi that had been there for her first meeting with the Hokage, Shikaku. He stares at her with a cocked eyebrow, his hand loosely holding onto a tiny, miniature copy of himself. Uzumaki dono, he greets in a lazy drawl. His eyes stray behind her towards the building, and Hari realizes that he must have felt her killing intent. Hari smiles tightly and nods her head. Nara dono. She glances at the child, who stares at her with openly curious eyes. Is this your son? He looks just like you. Shikaku nods his head. Yes, this is Shikamaru. He should be just a little older than Naruto. At the sound of his name, Naruto warily turns his head to look at the scarred man. Before Shikaku can say anything, he once again hides his head in Hari's neck. It's nice to meet you, Shikamaru, Hari says, smiling at him. She glances at Shikaku. I'm afraid you've caught me at a bad time, Nara dono. It seems like there was a little incident with Naruto's class that I need to deal with. Shikaku's face stays carefully impassive. I see, he says. Well, don't let us keep you. Hari shifts Naruto's weight. Perhaps you and your immediate family won't be opposed to having lunch with us later in the week, she offers. It'll be good for both Naruto and myself to get to know our fellow citizens. After Shikaku's acceptance and an amicable goodbye, they part ways, Shikaku's eyes still on her as she walks away. What are you going to do? Kushina asks. Hari doesn't answer her, not while Naruto is just starting to calm down in her arms. She had warned the Hokage about the villagers' behavior towards Naruto. If unchecked, they will continue to treat Naruto poorly until either it escalates to the point of no return or their behavior is corrected. And Hari's not really in the mood to let things escalate. Chapter 5. Uprooting the Rot. Shikaku isn't terribly surprised when he gets summoned to the Hokage's office. After the run-in he'd had with Hari, despite her extending an invitation to his family, there had been a headache blooming at his temples. It had been small at first, no more than an annoyance that made him think he was overlooking something. Her smile had been too blank, her eyes too calculating. The pounding in his head only worsened, and now there's an overwhelming sense of dread curdling everything in his stomach. Mendikus. He fluidly steps out from a shadow, taking note of the Hokage's rigid posture, the hard clench of his fist, the tight line of his mouth. Whatever is going on, he already knows it's going to be nothing but trouble. The Hokage thrusts a slip of paper before him, not unlike a few weeks ago, and waits for him to read. Shikaku takes it, and that sense of dread reaches new heights with every word he reads. Hokage-sama. Due to the ill treatment Naruto has faced at the hands of Takahashi-sensei, I have decided it would be best to pull Naruto from the academy. I realized that we had come to an understanding regarding Naruto's placement in Konoha, but I now wonder if I had agreed to something too soon. The behavior directed at my cousin is much worse than I had feared, and I know it will only get worse. It baffles me how Konoha is considered one of the best villages in the elemental nations when the village employs teachers who do not take their duties seriously. If a clan heir can have his education and training sabotaged, I shudder to think of what other unscrupulous teachers have done to the shinobi population as a whole. But the state of affairs being what they are, I feel I have no choice but to begin the paperwork to have the Uzumaki clan's assets transferred. It is obvious that Naruto will never thrive in such a hostile environment, and as I have told you before, I take my responsibility to him quite seriously. Though I can't make him forget the years of hatred he's already been subjected to, I can ensure that he not be oppressed by it any longer. Regards, Uzumaki Hari. For a moment, it's as if Shikaku can't breathe. He stares at the kanji, reads it, interprets it, and all he can see in his mind's eye is the Kyuubi being unleashed and destroying the village once more. It's something he's always written off as an irrational fear, and now with the reality of Naruto being taken from the village, it seems more like a nightmare given life. Because if Konoha doesn't have the loyalty of their own Jinchuriki, then that means they have a powerful enemy. We can't let Naruto leave the village, the Hokage says. His voice is flat, dispassionate, but the crinkling of his eyes gives him away. Speak frankly, Shikaku. If you were in this position, what would you do? Shikaku doesn't answer right away. Permission from the Hokage or not, some things aren't meant to be said to your superior's face. And pointing out the Hokage's massive fuck up. No, that's best left in Shikaku's head. Because if Shikaku was the Hokage, things never would have progressed this far. He never would have let Naruto's status as a Jinchuriki become public knowledge. Civilians fear what they don't understand, and even shinobi are prone to misunderstanding the art that is Fuinjutsu. No, Shikaku would have kept that card close to his vest. Without anyone being the wiser, Naruto would have grown up as just another orphan, no special than the thousands of other displaced children the Kyuubi's destruction left behind. Removing the hatred and fear surrounding Naruto's existence would have given the kid a better chance at finding a family. Not because it was the right thing to do. Shikaku has always been pragmatic, and the fact remains that showing only hatred and cruelty to someone does not inspire loyalty. If that kid turns out to be a monster, it would only be because this village made him that way. But if he'd been given a chance to have a family, Naruto would have deeper ties to the village than deceased parents he never knew. But Shikaku can't point this out to the Hokage. Time travel doesn't exist, so it's all speculation at this point. No, what Shikaku can do is advise the Hokage on how to proceed. And he'll do a better job than those Asinine elders. Uzumaki Dono is trying to force your hand, Shikaku says bluntly. After all, she told him herself not too long ago that she had to deal with the incident that happened in class. Why invite him and his family to lunch if she was just going to leave? She said in our first meeting that she wants the villagers to face consequences for their actions. And right now, she holds the cards. The Hokage grimaces, and his jaw is set angrily. You advise I give in. Best tread carefully now. It's a temporary concession for our long-term goals, Shikaku says cautiously. The fact is, if a teacher sabotaged anyone else's training, especially a clan heir's, they would face harsh punishment. Specifically, attempted murder. To a civilian, this would seem over the top. After all, it's not like Takahashi took a kunai to Naruto's neck. The only thing he allegedly did was treat Naruto the same way nearly everyone else in this damned village does. But it's different now. Naruto is training to be a shinobi, which means that until he either earns his headband or fails back into the civilian population, he is considered a potential asset to Konoha. Despite his status as a pariah, the village itself has a vested interest in ensuring he receive the proper education and training. Anything less would be a waste of precious resources that could have gone to someone else. From a less pragmatic standpoint, subpar training kills shinobi. Thus, it warrants an attempted murder charge, plus mandated reparations. And that's something that Shikaku completely stands behind. If someone had done the same to Shikamaru, Shikaku would salt the fucking earth. Now that Naruto has his cousin looking out for him, Shikaku expects nothing less would satisfy Uzumaki Hari. Takahashi Minoru passed all of the psych qualifications to become a teacher, the Hokage points out. He demonstrated no prejudice or bias towards Naruto when Naruto was placed in his class. Shikaku carefully doesn't point out how easily things can change. The Hokage isn't stupid, for all that he's willfully ignorant to the darker aspects of Konoha and its villagers. An accusation of this magnitude demands a full investigation, Shikaku murmurs. Not only will it show Uzumaki Dono that there are procedures in place to ensure justice prevails, it will send the message of accountability to everyone else. Right now, Naruto's mistreatment goes without being punished. Like bullies that go unchecked, they will continue to treat Naruto poorly until either it escalates to the point of no return or their behavior is corrected. The words rise in his head unbidden and Shikaku knows without a shadow of a doubt that she's right. If they don't nip this behavior in the bud now, it's just going to get worse until someone actually kills the kid. And then they'll know once more what it's like for the Kyuubi to bring Konoha to its knees. The Hokage runs his weathered hand over his face. He looks tired, so old and fragile, and Shikaku wishes, not for the first time, that someone else had taken over when Namikaze sacrificed himself. There was a time when the Sandaime was the best option for Konoha. The problem is that time has come and gone. Him coming back after the untimely death of his successor was honorable and selfless, but ultimately, he is not the kind of Hokage that Konoha needs anymore. Because the enemies aren't just outside the village. They're within, rotting the very foundations of what it means to be a proud citizen of Konoha, and the Sandaime will always be blind to them. He's too soft to do what is necessary. It's why Orochimaru ever survived after his grievous betrayal came to light. It's why Danzo has successfully begun turning the villagers against one of Konoha's founding clans. It's why the Sandaime's own council has entirely too much power. The truth of it is that the mishandling of the Yondaime's legacy is just the latest in a long list of the Sandaime's failings. When did the village quench its will of fire? The Hokage asks softly. Why didn't I see it coming? Shikaku doesn't have an answer for him. That's something only a good hard look in the mirror can answer, and Shikaku doesn't get paid nearly enough to supply him with that mirror. There's a knock on the door. At the Hokage's permission, Uchiha Fugaku steps into the room. A serious, stoic man, his eyes flash with only the barest hints of curiosity at Shikaku's presence before he devotes his focus to the Hokage. "Hokage-sama," he greets with a bow. The Hokage reaches into one of his drawers. He pulls out a folder and hands it to Fugaku. "There's been an accusation of sabotage levied against Takahashi Minoru by a clan head," he says brusquely. "I want a full investigation into the matter." Fugaku may not be a genius of Shikaku's caliber, but by now rumors of the revitalized Uzumaki clan have spread all over the village. It doesn't take much to put two and two together, as shown by Fugaku's brow twitching, the only tell he has. "Right away, Hokage-sama," Fugaku murmurs. "I want no stone left unturned," the Hokage demands. "Although a complaint has only risen against Takahashi Minoru, I want every person working at the academy to be investigated. Teachers, librarians, custodial staff. If there is so much as a whisper of misconduct, they are to have a special appointment with T&I." Shikaku goes still for a moment. It's not every day that someone can surprise him, and to say he's surprised is an understatement. Well, this is absolutely the course of action that should be taken. He didn't expect the Hokage to actually do it. A glance at Fugaku confirms that Shikaku isn't the only one caught off guard. It will be done at once. When Fugaku leaves, the Hokage turns to Shikaku. With cold eyes, he says, "Prepare T&I expect it will be quite busy in the coming days." Shikaku bows. As he leaves through one of his shadows, he can't help but think that maybe, just maybe, the Hokage can be the kind of leader Konoha needs once again. Hari already has steaming hot tea and fresh baked biscuits when the Hokage stops by. She opens the door before he can knock, pleasant smile on her face. "Hokage-sama," she greets, sinking into an elegant bow. "Please come in." The Hokage surveys the inside of the compound with an affable gaze. It's larger than anything Hari has ever stayed in, even when she eventually married and settled down to have her children. Time has long since stripped her of discomfort over the opulence, especially considering the grandiose castle that she claims as her home in Death's Realm. If anything, being the Uzumaki clan head makes her proud of choosing such a compound. The walls are painted a neutral gray color, with large paintings and scrolls prominently displayed. Hari knows without a shadow of a doubt that he recognizes the art done in the classical Uzumaki style, something so rare and precious in today's world. He walks over to one, his hands ghosting over the swirls and rolling waves, the hues of blue and splotches of orange. "This is one of the only paintings I have left," Hari says softly. "My mother loved it." The manufactured memories make it easy for the lie to slip from between her lips. Even though she'd never known Lily and James Potter, the fabrication doughs give her a sense of nostalgia, an echo of humanity that helps her commit to the charade. "I haven't seen an Uzumaki painting since I was a child," the Hokage confesses. Hari lets him have a few moments of silence. A softer mood just might make it easier to get him to agree to her terms. And if it doesn't, she'll just leave. "I have tea and biscuits," she says. "If you'll join me in the kitchen." He follows her, gracefully sinking into a chair. Hari lets him doctor his tea, waiting patiently. She could break the silence, bring up why he's here, but a little humility never hurt anyone. "I have received the accusation you levied against Takahashi Minoru," he says, his voice steady and calm. "Rest assured, we take all accusations very seriously. As we speak, the military police force are launching a full investigation into everyone employed at the academy. Hari doesn't say anything, opting to take a sip of her tea as she thinks. Although she's immeasurably pleased that she didn't have to fight very hard to get what she wanted, she knows that this is by no means the end of the war. This is winning one singular battle. "I'm glad to hear that," she says eventually. "Per our agreement, I assume I will be kept in the loop regarding the conclusion of the investigation." It wasn't a question. The Hokage nods his head regally. Pending the investigation, Takahashi Minoru has been suspended without pay. The academy is going to close for the next week until we know just how deep this rot has spread. Hari nods her head slowly. She sets her teacup down and crosses her legs. "I'm glad that you're taking this matter seriously." It's a compliment and an insult in the same breath, and being who he is, Hari has no doubt that the Hokage picked up on it. Not that she cares. If he doesn't want his village criticized, he should hold his people to a higher standard. "I assure you, Uzumaki Dono, something like this will not happen again," the Hokage says. Hari wants to scoff, but there's a hint of steel behind the old man's eyes that makes her pause. When she first met with him and pointed out the village's flawed behavior towards Naruto, he'd been defensive, almost placating, and it had her writing him off almost instantly. She may look young, but she's older than everyone in this damn village combined and knows when someone isn't taking her seriously. Hari wonders what caused the change of heart. "How will you ensure that?" she asks curiously. The Hokage sets down his own teacup and laces his fingers together. He looks so grandfatherly, so very much like Dumbledore, that Hari has to strengthen her occlumency shields against the ghost of her past. "It starts with the results of this investigation," the Hokage says. His stare pins Hari to her seat. Whether Takahashi Minoru is innocent or guilty of the accusations, the Konoha military police will be handling it. An example will be made of the wrongdoer. Hari can read between the lines. If Takahashi is proven guilty, his punishment will be a warning to anyone else who would mistreat Naruto, which is all that she wanted. But if Hari is the guilty party here, well, it won't matter. She knows damn well what happened. "I will be more than happy to have Naruto speak to Yamanaka Dono." Hari's lips curve into the sweetest of smiles. With such a painless way to extract the truth, I'm sure Naruto's account of events will prove most helpful. The pause. A challenge. The Hokage slowly nods his head, as if he's picking up her thrown gauntlet. Sabotaging a clan heir's training is an attempted murder charge. And doesn't that just work out perfectly? Hari already knew, of course, thanks to Kushina's memories. Attempted murder of a clan heir, if successfully convicted, carries a death sentence and reparations to the wounded party. Hari couldn't care less what personal effects Takahashi Minoru would leave her. It's not about taking all that he has. It's about sending a message. "That's quite a harsh sentence," Hari says casually. "Not that I don't agree with it. I just didn't expect to see such a thing in Konoha. Konoha treasures bloodlines. To entice clans to plant their roots here during the warring era, it was decided that a certain measure of protection was needed for those escaping persecution." "I see. Konoha is, after all, a shinobi village. It makes sense that certain aspects are darker than they appear. Nevertheless, after the investigation is finished and all rot has been uprooted, I will hold a council meeting. It is during this meeting that I will introduce you as our latest clan head." The Hokage finally relaxes his posture a bit. "These troubling events have shown me a great deal. As such, I will be assigning you the best Anbu we have to guard you and Naruto." Hari mulls his words over. No doubt the old man was already planning on having her followed around. Newly appointed clan head or not, she is still a foreigner. But to have him blatantly tell her of this guard is a bit of a surprise. "How can I trust this guard to not have malignant designs on my cousin?" She gestures around her. "It may not look like it, but the entire compound has protections that will take lethal action against any who wish myself or Naruto harm. I won't be responsible for your personally appointed guard being killed or worse." The Hokage's eyebrows lift and he warily surveys the room as if he could see the ruins and wards surrounding the property. Cute. Anbu Inu was not only a personal guard of Minato, but he also knows about Naruto's true parentage. Whenever he's not on a mission outside the village, he spends as much time as he can guarding Naruto from a distance. Hari's eyes narrow and for a moment all she can feel is rage. Because if this guard knew Naruto, knew what he was going through, then why the fuck didn't he step in sooner? Why did it take Kushina begging Hari to do something for Naruto to be treated the way he deserved? She takes a deep breath, tries to rein in her famously wicked temper. Things might not be as they appear, she tells herself. But she already knows that her opinion of this Anbu guard has been colored. "I want to meet him first," she says firmly, her tone brooking no argument. The Hokage cocks an eyebrow at her sudden change in demeanor, but only nods. "Of course. As soon as he's cleared from his debriefing, I'll bring him by." Hari plasters on a smile, nodding her head. The Hokage leaves shortly afterwards. Hari starts food, her movements methodical and robotic. Naruto will wake up from his nap soon, and like hell is she going to let him go hungry again. Unlike some people in this forsaken village. Chapter 6. The importance of allies. To his great relief and private despair, Kakashi can't find any fault with Uzumaki Hari. As soon as his mandatory week off begins, he takes to tailing after the new clan head, following her from a distance, watching how she interacts with Naruto in their new home. She's free with her hugs and smiles, eager to devote her time and attention to Naruto, who is flourishing under her wing, even though it hasn't been that long. And that's a good thing, it really is. Naruto deserves better than a silent guardian unable to leave the shadows. But damn it, that should have been him. With Sensei and Kushina gone, it was supposed to be him. He should be the one teaching Naruto how to garden. He should be the one taking him on walks and listening to his incessant chatter. He should be the one raising Sensei's son. Not that any of that matters. The betrayal of it all still aches with a sharp viciousness that hasn't subsided, not even days after learning the news. As much as he hates it, there's a part of him, a horribly selfish, jaded, bitter part of him, that resents Hari for being able to step in when he couldn't. And again, Kakashi is used to the dichotomy of emotion that's always swirled inside him. Naruto is probably the only person in the elemental nations that he feels something pure for. Otherwise, he can't remember the last time love has existed within him without hatred lurking somewhere in the darker corners of his heart. Probably before he found his father's barely cool corpse in their home. That intertwined mess of love and hate, gratitude and resentment, joy and grief has only grown. For Sensei, who'd pieced him back together and then shattered him once again that night in October. For Konoha, who takes what Kakashi had at one point been willing to give and doesn't notice or care that he's got nothing left but his bones. And now for Hari, whose only crime is caring about the one person that tethers Kakashi's sanity. And she does care. He sees it in every gentle caress, hears it in every kind word, feels it in every soft embrace. She reminds him a little of Kushina. Though quieter and perhaps a bit more dignified, her warmth and affection encompasses Naruto, who is finally smiling and laughing like he should have been all along. Smiling, laughing. Naruto's happy. It should be enough. Why isn't it enough? Oni-chan, when does school start again? They're in the back garden, which is surrounded by numerous trees that allow Kakashi to perch and observe. She's been teaching him how to care for their vegetable patch, something the boy is not only interested but also adept in. Kakashi can't help moving closer. He doesn't think there's a single person in this village that hasn't learned about what happened at the academy. It's what intrigued him enough to start tailing the Uzumaki home ahead of the Hokage's schedule. The academy is closed for at least a week, she says. After that, I'll have to ask the Hokage. Naruto stays quiet for a few moments, yanking weeds with a fierce determination. Is it because of me? Kakashi watches as Hari immediately reaches out and gently tilts Naruto's chin so that he's facing her. Absolutely not, she says firmly. The academy is closed for the week because the Hokage needs to make sure that the teachers can do their jobs properly. He would do this if anyone had been treated poorly. You go to the academy to learn how to be a shinobi, and if the teachers don't do a good job, you could get really hurt. Kakashi begrudgingly admires how simply she'd explained the situation. Even though Naruto is training to be a shinobi, he doesn't need to know the gritty details just yet. He's unspeakably glad that Naruto hasn't shown signs of genius and been fast-tracked. The village doesn't need another child genius to burn out. Naruto barely even looks at her, averting his eyes towards the tree that Kakashi is in. They said I wasn't good enough, that I'd wash out of the academy. There's something awful about the way he says it, as if he's talking about the weather, as if this is just another fact of life, and Kakashi knows with startling clarity that death is too good for the likes of Takahashi Minoru. They lied. Hari yanks the last weed with a vicious tug. They lied, and you know what? We're going to prove them wrong. How? Naruto finally looks at her, his eyes hesitant and wary, but there is a spark of something like hunger that gives Kakashi pause. Maybe this village hasn't done irreparable damage to him just yet. It'll take a lot of hard work, she warns him. There aren't any shortcuts to make it easier. Are you sure being a shinobi is what you want? There's nothing wrong with choosing a different path. The thought of Sensei's son being anything but a shinobi is startling. Kakashi's never once considered a different path. In more ways than one, he'd had little choice in his profession, and now it's too late for anything else. Retirement isn't an option for a shinobi of Kakashi's caliber, not at this junction in his career. He'd sooner be killed than allowed such a respite. I do, he says, and his blue eyes are hard and determined. He looks so much like Sensei that Kakashi aches. I can do it, Oni-chan. She smiles at him. Of course you can, she says, and Kakashi knows she means it. You can do anything you set your mind to. Naruto looks at her with such joy and trust, and Kakashi tries to temper his heartache as she scoops him up into a hug and cuddles him close to her. Even from here, Kakashi can't see Naruto's fingers tightly grasp the material of her shirt as he buries his head in the crook of her neck. They look like family. Kakashi rejoices in this as easily as he mourns it. He's happy and that should be enough, he thinks to himself, watching as she sends Naruto inside to wash up. He's happy and Kakashi should be grateful he's even been given a mission that so closely aligns with what he wants to do and. How long do you plan on watching us? Kakashi is too good a shinobi to jolt or flinch at suddenly being addressed, but he does turn his head slowly, his only visible eye narrowing at the newest Uzumaki. There was nothing to indicate movement. Not footsteps on the ground, not surging chakra, not even displacement in the air. 1 minute she's on the ground, watching Naruto's form disappear into their home, and the next she's on the tree beside him. It didn't even dip with the extra weight. How did she even sense him? Kakashi is quite adept at concealing himself. Other shinobi typically don't find him unless he wants to be found, and yet here she is, this long-lost Uzumaki, managing to not only sense his presence, but also sneak up on him. As long as it takes, he answers. He surprises himself with his honesty. Her head cocks to the side. It's a gesture that reminds him so much of Kushina that he can almost see the resemblance. Which makes sense, given that she's supposedly in Uzumaki, and yet he still can't shake the feeling that she isn't, despite the Hokage's proof. Sensei and Kushina had been family to him. If Kushina had a cousin she was still in contact with, she would have said something. As long as it takes, she repeats slowly, her voice soft with a hint of steel, for what, exactly? Kakashi isn't stupid, not by any means, but even he'll admit, later, when he's had time to breathe, when he's not choking on betrayal and blinded by hurt, that threatening a clan head isn't exactly the smartest thing he's ever done. I don't know what your plan is, he says, expression blank and tone bland, though there's the slow buildup of wrath and deadly promise, but know this. That boy in there. He deserves more than anybody is capable of giving him, and I swear, if he's only a pawn in whatever game you're playing, you won't have to worry about what the Hokage does to enemies of Konoha. Far from cowed, Hari merely stares at him. If you feel this strongly about Naruto, she says, then where were you? He's been starved, abused, neglected. This has been going on for most, if not all, of his life. If I wasn't here to force the issue, I'm sure he'd still live in that forsaken orphanage, lucky if he got 1 meal a day. This village damn near killed Naruto, Kushina's son, and where the fuck were you, Haddock? Her fury is a lot like Sensei's, cold and sharp and biting. If he were a lesser man, he'd have backed down. She has a right to her anger. No matter how much Kakashi wanted to be in Naruto's life, no matter that he was ordered to maintain his distance, the fact remains that Naruto has known mostly suffering and loneliness is his short life. Regardless of the circumstances, Kakashi has some blame in this. I am a proud shinobi of Konoha, Kakashi says, his words slow and measured, and I do as my Hokage bids. He has stared down opposition far stronger than her on battlefields far bloodier than this, and yet there's something about her scrutiny that has him feeling like a rabbit caught in a trap. She doesn't even blink, just stares at him with that unearthly emerald gaze that almost glows even in the shade of the tree they're in. And then she's gone. Effortlessly silent and eerie, here one moment and then suddenly not, without so much as a trace of her presence. You have a chance to be here now, she says from the base of the tree. Make sure you deserve it. Kakashi watches as she walks away from him, disoriented and wrong-footed, and wondering what exactly had just transpired between them. Fugaku watches with mild disgust as Takahashi Minoru breaks. Torture is never pleasant, not for the assailant or the victim, but T&I's latest apprentice, Marino Ibiki, seems to have the constitution for it. Inoichi, having exhausted himself with completing several mind walks of the orphanage workers and other academy teachers, watches next to him with grim satisfaction and reaches out to knock on the two-sided mirror. Ibiki finally pulls away from the bloodied, sobbing man and exits the interrogation room. His grim expression makes the jagged scars across his face look more severe. I'll write my report as soon as I clean up, he informs them. Inoichi nods sharply. Well done, he congratulates quietly. When Ibiki takes his leave, he turns to Fugaku. Is there anything else we can do for your investigation, Uchiha Dono? Fugaku presses his lips in a thin line. His first thought was that the investigation was given to the Konoha military police force to placate their ever-growing frustration. It's a double-edged sword, after all. No matter the results of the investigation, the Uchiha lose. Either they lose the faith of the public, who already eye his clan with blatant wariness, or they lose the Hokage's trust, of which they have so little. Still, even if he'd been given an offer to refuse the investigation, he wouldn't have. Fugaku doesn't have particularly strong feelings for the Jinchuriki. He knows his wife is still bitter over the Hokage's orders for distance, and he knows his eldest son has followed his mother's footsteps in keeping an eye out for the boy from afar, but his own feelings aren't strong enough to warrant more than lingering curiosity whenever the boy crosses his path. Loath as he is to admit it, Fugaku had been ignorant. The indifference he'd shown towards the Yandame's legacy was foolish, to say the least. So caught up in the injustice his clan is facing, it never occurred to him that the last Uzumaki's treatment was far worse than he'd assumed. Many children had been orphaned that night, after all, and though the orphanage could do with more resources, they'd always seemed properly maintained. This investigation scorched all those assumptions and left little more than ash in its wake. The blatant sabotage, the malicious treatment, the indifferent abuse heaped upon this boy who, if his wife had had her way, would have been welcomed into his own home after his parents' demise, is beyond shameful. And, at the same time, not at all surprising. The Uchiha clan are one of the founding clans of Konoha. Without their truce with the Senju, this village wouldn't be standing. The world might not have ever evolved from its warring states period. If they can be maligned and scorned, why not a Jinchuriki with a pedigree as prestigious as Uzumaki Naruto's? I'll wait for your reports, Fugaku says. I'll take them directly to the Hokage. Inoichi reaches into his robes and pulls out a scroll, handing it to him. Ibiki won't take long, he assures him. He looks at the broken man in the interrogation room again and shakes his head. Our kids are supposed to be safe. For a moment, Fugaku doesn't say anything. He has 2 children himself. If Takahashi had so much as looked at them the wrong way. We make them safe, he says, his words quiet and measured. Inoichi turns to him, mild surprise on his face. Fugaku has a fairly decent working relationship with most other shinobi, but being clan head had always meant devoting all of his time and energy into his family above all else. He was cordial and respectful, always, but never engaging. Maybe if he'd been different, his clan wouldn't be so isolated right now. Maybe they'd have allies within the village. We make them safe, Inoichi repeats solemnly. Maybe it's not too late. When Ibiki arrives, his clothes are free of blood and his face is carefully blank. He hands Fugaku a scroll and bows. If there is nothing else, Takahashi can be transferred back to a holding cell. Fugaku nods. I'll send over 2 shinobi. And with a sharp nod, he leaves T&I. The Hokage's receptionist is new, a woman named Fumiko who looks barely old enough to drink. She looks at him with sharp gray eyes and immediately stands, walking around her desk to knock on the Hokage's door. Okage-sama, Uchiha-sama is here to see you, she says, her tone brisk and polite. When he replies in the affirmative, she opens the door and bows to him before taking her leave. Fugaku is mildly surprised to see 2 people already in the room with the Hokage. He has no doubt that Shikaku was informed by Inoichi, considering the 2 men were very close, and Shikaku was already appraised of the situation even before Fugaku himself. The real surprise is Hada Kakashi. Even with his Anbu cloak and mask, there is no mistaking that unique gravity-defying hair as belonging to anyone else in the village. Okage-sama, Fugaku greets, easily falling into a bow. He waits until the Hokage acknowledges him before he stands again. The investigation has reached a conclusion. Report. Inu accepts the scroll from Fugaku and places it on the Hokage's desk before moving to stand at the Hokage's side and falling into a battle-ready stance. Shikaku looks more alert than Fugaku can recall seeing in recent memory. With every word the Hokage reads, the silence in the room gets progressively heavier. Although he doesn't show any sign of anger or discontent, Fugaku knows without a shadow of a doubt that it's only a matter of time before the village feels the Hokage's wrath. In a way, it gives him hope. Too many of his clansmen were bitter and upset when the Sandaime chose Namikaze as a successor, but Fugaku had been content with the choice. Namikaze was a good Hokage. Konoha truly suffered a great loss with his sacrifice. Fugaku had respected him, even if at first that respect was only because of his faith in the Sandaime. He wouldn't have named his youngest son after the Sandaime's father if Fugaku had no faith in the Hokage. And yet, with the treatment of his clan steadily declining over the last 4 years, his faith has been systematically chipped away piece by piece. It's not broken, not yet, but with every microaggression that grows unchecked, Fugaku had figured it was only a matter of time. But with how seriously the Hokage is handling the situation, maybe there's hope for the Uchiha clan. Before they have to take drastic measures. There's another knock at the door. Uzumaki-sama has arrived, Hokage-sama, Fumiko announces promptly. The Hokage finally puts down the scroll. Send her in, he says calmly. Uzumaki Hari is much younger than Fugaku thought she'd be. Though Fugaku knows, like any shinobi worth their headband, that age has nothing to do with skill, he also knows that she won't be taken seriously by the civilian council because of it, even if she weren't already to face opposition because of who her cousin is. Crimson red in color with gold trim, her yukata is short, only just reaching her knees. Her waist is bisected by a thick black obi, and her sleeves are long and wide enough to hide hand signs. Bandages wrapping up one leg, standard shinobi sandals adorning each foot, she looks nothing like the civilian woman he was expecting. She certainly doesn't hold herself like a civilian woman. High cheekbones, full lips, and inky black hair. If not for her vibrant eye color, Fugaku would swear she looks more like an Uchiha than an Uzumaki. Hokage-sama, Uzumaki Hari greets, dipping into a perfunctory bow. The Hokage nods and gestures to Fugaku. Uzumaki Dono, this is Uchiha Fugaku. He is the head of the Uchiha clan, as well as the leader of the Konoha military police force. They've just concluded their investigation into the personnel at both the academy and the orphanage. She turns to Fugaku and offers him a short bow as well. It's a pleasure to meet you, Uchiha Dono. I thank you for the hard work you've put into this investigation. Fugaku offers her a curt nod. It should have been under better circumstances, Uzumaki Dono, he says formally. Nevertheless, I assure you, accusations of this nature are investigated with the utmost diligence. With their keen eyes, nothing gets past an Uchiha. This is why Hokage-sama assigned Uchiha Dono personally to your case, Shikaku cuts in, his words smooth and even. Hari nods her head slowly. What happens now? Sentencing, the Hokage says simply. His eyes are as cold as steel. They will pay for their crimes with their lives. Fugaku suppresses a shiver. He knew, theoretically, that the punishment for the crimes committed would be death. He also knows of a certain Sannin who has committed far worse atrocities and yet lives to this day. Sarutobi is, in a word, soft. Fugaku glances at Hari, who is staring at their sovereign with satisfaction and a hint of respect and knows that she must be the reason for the Hokage's recent change. Well, the Uchiha clan could use all the allies they can get. What if Naruto was helped by female Harry Potter? End here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.